Alfred, finally, this is what a progressive state is able to accomplish. Have you seen that California is actually creating housing for teachers near the school to kind of incentivize them to stay on board and keep delivering that extreme expert education towards our children?
Not even close. It wasn't to incentivize them. They were losing all the teachers because they're so progressive that nobody can afford any housing. And why is housing in California so expensive? It's not because people want to live there. It's because it's so difficult to be able to be uh, a one of those construction a developer and build the complexes there for people to live. All the rules and regulations and the politicians there are so terrible that companies have sworn off ever working with California again. And so there's nowhere for people to live unless you have millions of dollars to buy something that's already established there. And it's too late by then because all the prices have gone up thanks to Biden, who's another progressive. And then the they're not incentivizing the high education level that you just mentioned. What they're doing is they're replacing all the teachers that had half a brain and got out of California with basically trying to kill two birds with one stone, right? They're going to replace the teachers and they're going to get rid of some of their homeless problem by giving those homeless people homes right next to the schools and using them as teachers. But everything is going to go right down because now the education is going to be terrible. The housing is going to be dilapidated because we've seen in the past, every time that you build some sort of housing structure for homeless people, they tear the whole thing apart. That's why they don't stand for very long when they build one of those buildings that's just for homeless people. They still do the same things that they do in the street, just in the building. They'll poop all over. They'll break things, because when they're using drugs like meth, there's a lot of anger, so they're just punching holes in the drywall, and eventually the whole building is condemned and has to come down.
Everything you just said was absolutely false. First off, to become a teacher, you require at minimum a master's degree. They're not building it for the homeless people. And housing, you're talking about housing in California. Housing is expensive everywhere. $1 million houses are going up now in cities and states that people are still making $7 an hour and they're bankrupt. Housing is an issue across the country. And it was brought on by a virus that could have been controlled if the certain president at the time would have taken action a lot quicker. So don't blame Biden for a virus that happened under Trump's watch and was mishandled by him at that time.
Okay.
Now, for the housing problem and the schooling problem, we already have the housing problem and the schooling problem. So in this case, we're able to beat one problem at a time. So we're able to take care of our children's future, which should be the priority. And that is good. And now these teachers can now focus on teaching our children, and whether they're teaching them equity or anything of that nature, or to live their best lives and be their best selves in whatever form that might take, they're at least finally able to do so. Because what you do have in society right now is currently no one can afford to live there. So the people that are actually showing up to teach those children, they have no interest in teaching them. They're angry. They're unable to make their bills, so they're taking that out on the kids, and we can't have that crap, right? So at the end of the day, I think this is overall a net good, and you should see it as that too. Your children will be able to go to school in California and get a quality education, because the only thing that teacher needs to focus on is delivering that education to your child, which is how we wanted it in the first place.
The only things that these homeless teachers are going to be teaching the children is how to find the crack pipes that the Biden administration is handing out for free. So, you're right. It is Trump's fault for not taking care of the virus early on so that it couldn't go on in the year 2020 to destroy the rest of the country. But at that time, there was nothing he could do about the virus because euthanasia isn't allowed. So he was forced to let Biden continue.